Keep making plays. The light ain't on you, but keep making plays. And you may not be where you want to be as quickly as you want to be there. You may not be where other people are that you look up to, that you are trying to emulate or learn from, but keep making plays. And just because it's not happening for you as quickly doesn't mean that you're on the wrong path. It just means that you haven't been doing for long enough or you haven't been doing enough volume. And we do what is required. We don't do our best. Most people try as if they want credit for trying, rather than trying as if they want to succeed. It's understanding that it is not about trying your best. It is about doing what is required and getting done what you want to get done. A very big thing for me is understanding that you don't have to commit to winning. Winning is by and large outside of our control. But what we can control are the controllables. And as long as we control those variables and we can dedicate ourselves to two things, we will win eventually. The first thing is to never stop. If you never stop, I can veritably guarantee you will win eventually on one condition, which is the second point, is that you keep learning. So if you keep improving and you never stop, you will win. And that's the one person that everyone is afraid to compete against, is the guy that's just gonna keep on coming. The guy that's like a dripping faucet. He just keeps pop, 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 pop. Regardless, and a very large predictor of success is how quickly one can return to baseline. It's how quickly after an event, regardless of what had happened that had knocked you off the path, how quickly are you going to get back to homeostasis and get back in the grind and get back to doing what you're supposed to be doing, or doing what is required. I mean, we can remove all the shoulds, all the supposed to be's, this, that, and the third. However, success demands that you do what you have to do. There are no in betweens. There are no consolation prizes. And so, in order to get there, we're going to need a couple of tools. One of those tools would be focus. And focus is not achieved by adding anything, it is what's left when you remove everything else. And so a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, I am assuming this new identity, and so I need to add things in order to move myself closer to that goal. However, most of the time you'll find that it is a game of removing. When you want to lose weight, it's not that you're going to add working out and you're going to add healthy meals and you're going to add, it's going to be mostly a game of removing. If you just remove the unhealthy things that you were doing, you remove the candies, you remove this, you remove that, you'll find that it is very little that you would have to do in terms of exercise in order to create that discrepancy between calories in and calories out to create the weight loss. You will find that in terms of wanting to build something really really big, now we're going to speak specifically in terms of business. Yes, you do have to add the channels of education, this, that, and the third, but you'll find that most of the time, I'll make another point now quickly. We vote about what we care about with our time and with our money. And so if you look at someone's calendar and if you look at someone's bank account, the detailing section that tells you exactly what the transaction have been in the account, then you'll understand what their priorities are. You'll understand what they're focused on. You understand what they care about, because we vote with our time and with our money what it is that we truly care about. Not what we think, what we say we care about, what we actually care about. We will spend our time doing and we will spend our money on. And that's just the truth of the matter. And so, in order to be able to acquire the resources to do what you have to do, you will find yourself having to remove things, not being a part of things by and large. And that is going to be driving most of the success habits that lead you to where you want to go, more so than adding anything else. Um, Again, focus is the quality and quantity of the things you say no to. And so when you begin to find those things that do work, it becomes a game of avoidance. The path to success becomes a game of not making mistakes. And so a master can be defined as someone who has failed more often and in more ways than anyone else. And that is their superpower. That's why they have an innate, a very deep understanding of the craft, because they can get you to where you need to go by helping you avoid all the pitfalls. And so notice that it becomes a game of removing. You're removing the pitfalls, you're removing the faults, and the less variables are in the game, the less faults you will run into inherently. So focus is very, very important in our attempt to keep making these plays, in our attempt to keep plugging away. Um, Again, I want to touch on this one more time. Try like you mean it rather than trying like you want credit for trying is a very, very important part of actually becoming exactly who you want to become. I have two final points. I'm not going to keep you here for too long at all because I want you to get back to making those plays. Number one, what they deem acceptable, I deem intolerable. Now, I love that this wasn't even that popular in terms of I put my notes down on Twitter, right? So sometimes I get a little bit of feedback on what the people actually like, what they want to hear, that type of stuff. But for me, it also gives me an idea of where is the attention going? What do people, like, what do they want to hear, and therefore what can I deduce from that? For example, I find that on my TikTok, the things that do the best are typically things about staying in the game, doing the running, like the not necessarily keep making plays, but I'm sure this is going to do decently as well. Or if this were to be like a short form and I were to put it on TikTok, it would do decently as well. But people want to be hopeful, which is a very good thing. I love that they want to be hopeful, and I love that they are in the space to gain the information. But notice that this didn't gain any traction. And Twitter's not the be all end all. Sometimes things don't do well here because I don't have a big following at all. I only have like 6 followers, 885 posts, heading to that thousand, hopefully before the next couple of months. Hopefully by March, I'll say I would have crossed that 1,000 tweet barrier. In any case, what they deem acceptable, I deem intolerable. And that is what will separate those of us from the rest. You don't get out of life what you want, you get what you tolerate in yourself and other people. I understand why they didn't like this on this platform. First of all, it's not a very well grammatically phrased thing. It doesn't have very good rhetoric. It's not just a small catchy thing. And second, they probably deem a lot of things acceptable that I deem intolerable. A certain state of physical condition, a certain state of mental condition, a certain state of spiritual condition. They deem acceptable a certain kind of partner, certain kinds of habits, certain kind of speech from themselves to themselves, and also from other people to them, and from them to other people. There are certain things that I won't tolerate being in my mind, certain kinds of thinking. Uh, I don't tolerate envy. I don't tolerate jealousy from myself, first and foremost, let alone in a friend. If anyone is anything but stoked for me when I win, I don't need them in my life. And I'm very cutthroat and ruthless with that. Very cutthroat and ruthless with my time and where it's allocated, especially when it comes to people. I just love to have very positive people around me. And that doesn't necessarily mean I want yes men, just people to agree with me all the time. I do keep people around me who constantly push back on my ideas. Uh, and sometimes I'm astonished by the fact that they're even alive. I'm like, how can you disagree with me so much and still be living? So it keeps me human, right? It keeps me outside of an echo chamber. And that's definitely the type of person who is going to, number one, call you out when things are getting to your head, and number two, when you're getting certain people around you who are just echoing what you're saying. That's the type of person who'll call you out, and that's why it's very important to have those type of people in your life. um, However, again, for me, if it's anything but love, if it's anything but encouragement both ways, and constructive criticism, then it's not necessary. And the question becomes, does this person get me closer to my goals? If the answer is no, or if it's neutral, then there's a waste of time and resources. Are they not? I mean, depending on what your goals are. If your goals are to just hang out with people who are not into much and who don't do anything particular with their lives, and you're not trying to do anything particular with your life either, then hey, guess y'all are meant for each other. But you deem that acceptable. I deem it intolerable, and that's what will separate those of us from the rest. You don't get what you don't get out of life what you want. You get what you tolerate in yourself and other people. And speaking of what will separate those of us from the rest, think about those things that you're not willing to give up to get to your goals. And we're talking about making the plays, but then these are the things that inherently come with it. Is you're going to need a certain environment to thrive. You're going to need a certain subset of people around you. You're going to need a certain mentality, and you're going to need to understand certain things. You're going to need to understand focus. Focus is going to become a very big component in your life. Um, One that I want to touch on now is what will separate those from the rest. Think of all the things that you're not willing to sacrifice to get to your goals. The person who's going to beat you is willing to sacrifice those things. And that could be watching rugby on the weekend. That could be drinking beers with the boys. That could be yeah, spinning plates and playing with the girls, playing with the other kids, being going out on the weekends. You know what time it is right now? It's 10:30, give or take. No, it's 10:49. It's 10 to 11 on a Saturday, and I'm here recording, locked in. Today I spent the day just talking to clients, going back and forth about working on client acquisition, just doing everything I can to get the job done in a strong way. Worked out. Don't have a book right now, but we are in the midst of the grind, and the money will be coming in shortly. And with that, rich people buy time, ambitious people buy skills. Uh, what is it? It's it's rich people buy time. Wallahi, I have this thing. I'm not sure. I don't think I did put it up. I think I took it off of my latest tweet. My latest tweet was gonna have it. No, I changed it. I changed it. I changed it. But the basic thing is, I'm going to miss one, but it's fine. Rich people buy time. Poor people buy stuff. Ambitious people buy skills, and lazy people buy distraction. I haven't missed one. The one I was gonna miss is the poor people buying stuff, because lazy people are a separate category. Rich people buy time. Rich people buy assets that make them money, and in doing so, they're not trading money directly for time. They trade money for time to begin with, and with that money, they buy assets which buy back their time. Because instead of using the money that is earned with your time, you're using the money that is making you other money through whatever mechanism. If you look at real estate, if you look at this, you look at that, that is going to buy you freedom, because that disconnects your time from your earning. And that's why most people won't be wealthy, because they don't understand just it, things that have become basic to me in terms of financial education, but were a shock to me when I first heard them. um, Asidleni imali, sisebenze imali is often is a phrase you'll often hear by my people, and that's because they don't know better. Um, Another story for another day. But you look at the things that you're not willing to sacrifice, and the person who will beat you is willing to sacrifice them. Very important one is you don't have to commit to winning. All you have to commit to is not giving up, and winning just occurs. As long as you keep learning, winning will just happen. I will touch on this one, and then we'll hit the closing one. All right, cool. Most people would rather look rich than be rich. Never be too proud to live below your means, and allocate resources building your future. Um, Invest in yourself first and foremost. And so now we're back to talking about rich people buy time, poor people buy stuff, and so these are liabilities. These are just This is just money that goes to die. This is where money goes to die on things that are not going to be used to make yourself more productive in any way, shape, or form. That is stuff. Ambitious people buy skills. Um, so when I talk about, okay, poor people would rather look rich. That's the stuff. Is, oh, I'm gonna wear Gucci this, I'm gonna wear Nike that, I'm gonna wear this, that, that. I'm gonna be a consumer. That's the stuff that we're talking about here, right? And most people would rather buy that stuff to look like they have things going on, and are too proud to live where they're at and use the additional resources to actually level themselves up. So most people would rather look rich than be rich. Most people would rather buy the things that make you appear to have a sort of status, right? Make you appear to have a sort of bank account. You know, you're driving a certain car, you're wearing certain clothes, you may be with a certain girl. That's just me being real. It's just me being 100%. You'd rather be with that girl, do those things, spend that money living in that way, and appear to have money, than actually invest in the things that will make you money. And that's where ambitious people buy skills. Those are the things that turn into what rich people buy, which is time. Those are the things that turn into the additional time that you have free. Is when you get into those high leverage situations. Like the higher your skill level, the more leverage you have. And when we talk about leverage, your leverage is a concept that I think I'm beginning to scratch the surface of. I don't think I understand it to the depth that I believe I understand it. I do believe that there are levels to it, in terms of understanding. But to my understanding, leverage is why. Okay, let me explain leverage quickly. Is in terms of the way it disconnects your time from from the outcomes. Meaning, in the way that I'm working now in my consulting, I only have to, uh, like, within 5 minutes, I can write something up, I can draw something up, and tell people exactly what to do with it. In terms of, you take this thing, you post it in this way, you do this underneath, this is going to get us this, that's going to lead into that. So literally, in terms of, you put it up, and that's going to get us people to respond, because we gave a call to action. They take that call to action, we see if it's a qualified lead. If it is a qualified lead, then we take them in, and we begin to nurture that lead, and that's going to be a future customer. And the more of those we can get, the more customers we're going to get. And if at some point in the line, something is not happening for us the way that we want it to happen, it means we either need to work on the offer, we need to work on. So here's what I'm saying. I only need to type that thing once in 5 minutes, and it's going to unlock that much of a chain of events that based on that thing that I only had to write once, we are going to get so much more out of that one thing. And the duplication cost of that thing is not high at all. You literally just copy paste. You can copy paste it, and you put it on a poster. You can do this, you can do that. And the cost to copy that to copy that writing, right? It's called copywriting. The cost to copy that writing is absolutely nothing to me. I don't have to keep to write it every single time it's being put on a different content or piece of content, or put on a different, like whatever the case is, put on a different ad, put on a different post. I don't have to copy it every time. I just have to write it once, and it can keep doing things that will make me money, that will make my clients money first and foremost. And through them making money, I become more reputable, and that makes me money. So understand that I only had to do one thing once, and it has a downstream effect that leads to money being made. Versus if I'm a gardener, if I'm a lawnmower, I mow this lawn once, and there's nothing with working with your hands. I mean, it's something that I've done. Like I said in the previous video, I've worked minimum wage, you know. But then it's what do you do with that, and how do you use it to disconnect yourself, directly, for trading time for money. But in any case, I cut the grass once, the grass grows back. I can't cut it once and transfer that cutting of the grass. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So we talk about leverage. Cutting the grass, very low leverage, because there's a very, very close correlation to your time and how much money you get. versus you can spend a little bit of time on this and it can net to something because it's just different value propositions, right? It's different levels of the game. And so that's why ambitious people buy skills, so that their skills can be the thing that disconnect their time from their money. And finally, lazy people buy distractions, which goes back into that stuff, right? People living beyond their means just to look like they're living a certain way rather than allocating those resources towards actually building the prior knowledge to understand things like this, that I'm talking about here, unlocking the time sometimes, you know. Been very blessed and fortunate to have had the work ethic, but also blessed and fortunate, to have had the parents that I've had who just have given me the time and the space that I needed in order to find this part of myself, to find this within myself. You know, to this has just always been an interest of mine. And then now, because I'm so close and I'm so tapped into the space, I can actually begin to do things like this, to make things like this, and to begin to educate my people first and foremost, and to be for them, because it seems that no one has been for them historically, for a very, very long time. I say within the last 400 years, there's been nothing but exploitation of this piece of land here, and we're here to do something about it, you and I, my friend. But in any case, finally, and this is a big one, and it is best for last in a sense, in terms of driving today's message home, which is, again, keep making plays, right? Keep doing it, stay active, stay out there. And here's the reason: no one cares how long it takes, they just care what you're capable of and what you have in the end. And so you shouldn't care how long it takes either. Just keep learning and never stop. Highlight: no one cares how long it takes, they literally just care what can you do, what are the skills. I keep pointing here because this is where my books are at, man. In case you don't, in case you don't understand why my eyes keep going that way, and there are more books under that. But what are you putting the time into? You know, as long as you're putting the time in and you're learning those things, you will become more capable. And when you're capable, when you do, you become, you have. I hope that makes sense to you guys. When you do, you become, you have. And so if you do a certain way, you become a certain way. And then all it takes is time for reality to catch up to who you've become. And that's when you begin to unlock that magic, to unlock that magic of compounding. And what do you have to do? What's the okay? Compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. Yes, the only way to take advantage of compounding is not to interrupt it. And how do you not interrupt your compounding? By staying in the game, staying active. You keep making plays, and no one cares how long it takes. At the end, you are working on a made up timeline that you made up within your own head. But the truth is, back to what I said near the beginning, just because it's not working yet doesn't mean it's not going to work. Sometimes you just haven't been doing it for a long enough time. And so if you keep plugging away, you keep making plays, you take advantage of that compounding, you focus, you keep learning, you never stop, and you don't tolerate within yourself the tendencies that will move you away. You don't tolerate the distractions. Then you will realize your dream. I mean, ultimately. And that's what I believe life is all about, is realizing your dream. And that is not necessarily material success for all of us. It's not necessarily material success. And success won't solve your problems, but it will solve your money problems. And so at very least you can get those out of the way to allow yourself the gap, the space, the time. What do rich people buy? It'll give you the time to solve the problems that actually matter and to build the things that will solve the problems that actually matter for other people too. That's why we need to buy that time back. And in order to build the biggest things, we can't do it by ourselves. We need each other, which is a part of why I'm here today. Part of why I'm wearing this is just as a reminder of the essence, the ethos, why we do this. I am because you are. And so, if you could share this with a friend, then I would greatly appreciate it. And hopefully, your friend would appreciate it as well. If you just left them a bit of message and tell them that this guy's gonna stumble, but he's getting there. But there's something. He's saying something, Chief. There's something to what this guy's saying.